I'm on my cellar sizer and forgot about you. You spelled it wrong, dude. No, I actually was riding on the bike. I think this gain is up too high. I was actually riding on the bike. So if I'm breathing heavy, that is the reason why. So welcome to this little live thing that I'm doing right now. I wanted to talk about Neal Barnard. Somebody asked me about his book. Man, this, I just got done taking a shower. Somebody asked me about Neal Barnard's book. I like a lot of the information off that, but I think a lot of it is still catered towards the CECO, calories in, calories out life. And as I've proven to myself over and over again over the years of dieting, it just doesn't work like at all. So I like a lot of the information in there. I think it's still worth buying and reading. Unfortunately, you can't listen to it because he doesn't have it on Audible, but it is definitely worth buying and reading. But the thing that I really wanted to talk about most before if there's any questions or whatever, is the DURIANRIDER. Apparently, he's saying that I'm not doing his protocols or something like that, and he's definitely right about that. I haven't been doing the exercise part. I really struggle to get myself to do exercising. And I also haven't been doing the sleep part, which probably is never going to really happen. So that's just going to be the way it is. I I can't go to bed by 9 o'clock. It's just ain't gonna happen. Sometimes I get there by 10:30. But I wanted to talk about, so I went to the Cleveland Orchestra on Sunday. And as I'm watching these people, it sounded amazing, right? As I'm watching these people, I realize that all these people do is dedicate their life to playing this musical instrument, whatever instrument that is that they're playing. And I started thinking about the diet and the DURIANRIDER thing and everything like that. And if you don't put 100% effort into something, you're not going to ever get 100% results. You're always going to have mediocre results. If you put mediocre into everything, you're going to get mediocre out. And I think the best way to do that is just to dedicate yourself to that. Like I've always toyed with the idea of going back to weightlifting. I toy with the idea of doing this. I toy with the idea of doing that. And I see undercarb lights over here. I toy with all these ideas and I can't ever just dedicate myself to it. Not on top of the fact that I really don't like doing that is going to drive me crazy. Did it just die? That on top of the fact that I don't really like exercise all that much. Like I love lifting, but I don't really like cardiovascular activities. And the only time I've ever lost weight is doing cardiovascular because it's just what's DURIANRIDER? I'll get to all the questions if I can. It's just it's something that I just don't like. I think I have the idea in my head that it's going to hurt my foot because before the surgery, I couldn't even go for a walk without my foot hurting, and that's why I started lifting. But I have to get past that and just and everybody. This is just talking to everybody, but this is my journey. And if you're not going to do the protocols 100%, you're not going to get 100% results. And that's basically why I was just on the bike because I realized that I just got to get everything done. And when I was doing the interview with Georgie, the first thing that he said after I asked what exercise should you do, he said cycling because of everything that he said. And go watch that video if you want to hear the rest. But it's just amazing to me how just not doing certain things, as far as like the no exercise or whatever, it really can derail things. And I think the reason for this is my body is just genetically. This is one thing I did get from the Neal Barnard book. My body is genetically programmed to store fat. It just genetically is. But I can change that. That's, I can't change my eye color. I can't change, well, other than dyeing my hair, I can't change that color. I can't change a lot of things. But you can change what you do as far as eating habits, as far as exercising habits, and as far as all the other habits. So people that are going on DURIANRIDER and saying that I haven't been doing his protocols, or him saying that, that I'm not doing his protocols, I guess he is right. But there is a huge difference between somebody trying to lose 10, 20 pounds and somebody who's lost, this is not tooting my own horn, but I've actually lost more weight than everybody I've interviewed minus one person combined. So, but that fat person still is in there. The fat person that got themselves to 405 pounds or whatever I was. And I do fight with it sometimes too. So that is hopefully, he sees this or whatever. I think he did something with my channel or mentioned my channel or something like that today because I had like a bunch of people watching. Yeah, like a ton of people watching my videos today. Way more than average. So that is that. I think DRR protocols work well if you are fit. Well, that's the thing. What do you just become fit? I mean, you got to get fit to be fit. You can't just like, well, I'm just fit one day. It's not like a computer, like if you need a higher speed on a computer, you just plug in a new CPU and you're fine. If you need, or if you need new struts on your car, you just plug new ones in there and you're fine. You got to get there before you can be there. So that's just not possible. Yeah, we are all technically. I know he talks about the athlete, but technically we are all athletes. We all are built with the adaptation to become better at something. So, technically, we all are athletic because we all have the unless you have some rare genetic thing or something like that. But we all have the ability to overcome and adapt, to whatever circumstance we are. Because, like squatting, for example, you can't just go squat 500 pounds. You can't just do it. That's kind of like saying just be fit. You can't just walk into the gym, squat high 500 pounds without starting off with the bar first. It just doesn't happen like that. How to fix gut issues on high fruit juice diet. I'll get to that in a second. So it's really important to me to get this message out there because I have been analyzing this ever since I went to that thing, the orchestra on Sunday. I'm like, I played alto saxophone. I was really good at it, but I just never. It's just like my whole life I do mediocre because my brain is always trying to tell me that let's just go play video games or let's just you know just eat or whatever. And you got to get past that. You can't get to a new spot without having that change in your life. And I think it is really hard to do for a lot of people and easy to do for others. It's all about mindset. This is why I like talking about mindset on my other channel, Ryan Talks. Probably link down below. There's certain parts of my life that I'm really good at, and I could see like, I wouldn't do that. Like, for example, I've had like 55, 60 jobs or something like that because I'm not going to go in and do certain things. Like, it's just not something I'm going to go do. And so if I go into a job and they're like, well, for example, I got a job at Panera Bread. I don't know if you're not in America. You probably don't know what Panera Bread is. I got a job there. And first of all, they're yelling at me for not having. I walk in and they're like, "Well, you don't have a hat on." I'm like, "You didn't give me a hat." Well, you should have a hat. I'm like, well, "You didn't give me a damn hat." Like it's as simple as that. And then there's this other manager standing next to this dude who's yelling at me. I'm like, "Neither one of you gave me a hat. I don't know what you want me to tell you." And I think I had a beard at the time, and he's like, "Well, you got to shave." And I'm like, "I'm not shaving." I said, "First of all, you didn't give me the damn hat. You didn't tell me I had to shave. And second, I really like either one of your attitude, and I'm not coming back." And I would do that a lot, like that is an area of my life where I really don't believe in settling. But for whatever reason, with the diet and exercise and all that kind of stuff, I just kind of, it'll happen when it happens. So anyway, 9 minutes of me rambling. Um, some questions here. Vegan weightlifting. It's not hard. You just don't eat meat, man. That's a lot of stuff. Why am I here waiting on some dude to show up? Then don't. uh, I can't eat white rice and potatoes. They give me autoimmune issues and make me sleepy. That is not true. Autoimmune is just a label that the doctors created to say that I have no idea what's going on with you, but I want you to pay me for coming here. That is what autoimmune is. Do you have a skincare routine? No, I haven't washed my hair in I don't know how many years. I don't wash my, actually, back in the day, I used to have a ton of acne, and I used to always be buying those scrubber things and different creams and stuff like that. That light is driving me crazy. I'll be right back. I used to have this skincare routine, and it drove me nuts. My skin was always dried out. I couldn't stand it anymore. And one day, I just stopped cleaning my face and everything with anything, and all of a sudden, acne went away. So that's kind of my skincare routine. Some of Matt Stone's recommendation regarding diet recovery are iffy, but what I can get behind is that he says carbs are extra important to heal the metabolism. Well, without sugar, you don't heal at all because the mitochondria are run off sugar. So if you didn't have sugar, your mitochondria wouldn't run and nothing would happen. So 100%. That's just like, I know I've mentioned Mike Menser quite a few times. He was one of the only bodybuilders that was always talking about, you got to have carbs, you got to have carbs, you got to have carbs. Otherwise, you just can't build the physique that you want to. So I think that's actually one of the reasons that I started watching him, because I was doing keto at the time and I still never really listened to him. But I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. And then I just didn't do it. It's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, carbs, carbs, carbs. I mean, they run everything. Your liver runs off it, your brain runs off it, your heart runs off it, your immune system runs off it, your digestive system runs off of it. Without it, you got to convert something else to carbs. And if you got to do that, that's a more of an expensive process. And then your body starts thinking it's starving itself. And it's a nightmare. Does a small amount of animal products have, I mean, why would you? I don't understand what the obsession with eating animals. I just don't understand that obsession. It's like an addiction of some kind. I guess it's because it's very stimulating. I have no idea, but no, I mean, I just can we limit animal products and lose weight? Of course, probably, but they're doing a lot of stuff with the animals these days. It's just such a circle jerk. We take the food that we feed the animals from people who don't have food anymore, so they die. Then we feed it to the animals and fatten them up. And then most animals have, liver issues by 3 and are dead. And then they chop them up and feed them to you, and then you die from it. It's just an all around ridiculous triangle that you're in. It reminds me, when I worked at the fish place, and we would cut off the tumors, and the tumors would just go into making like fish patties and stuff like that. I mean, when you buy fish patties or crab patties or whatever you're buying, fried up and everything, I mean, half the time that's like tumors, organs, all that kind of stuff. It's just, it's, because the industry is not going to waste any money, and they don't care about you. If you die, there's somebody else eating their stuff. So it really doesn't matter to them. Yeah, there's only very few things. That's one of the things Georgie and I talked about. Is there's only very few things that the FDA really cares about. I remember when I worked at the fish place, the FDA, because they'll do surprise visits, and they came in and they hit the owner with like $115,000 bill for something with the lobster tanks. But other than that, most of the time they would just put blinders on. Like we had like this really toxic sodium in the back that would go in to plump up the scalps and stuff like that. I mean, you had to wear like gloves and everything to handle this stuff. Sometimes a mask, and they're supposed to take it, but they didn't care. Yeah, tumor sandwich basically. I still eat some dairy currently, mainly because my partner cooks with cheese, etc. So it convene. I get away from it, man. After orchestra on Sunday, I went to this Italian place, and they luckily had, their pasta they make there, but it was vegan. And my family is not vegan at all. And the smell of cheese, I almost had to run to the bathroom and vomit. That stuff is ugh. Ugh, I don't know how people eat it. If you don't eat cheese for a long period of time and you smell that stuff, oh man, it's just like somebody vomited on the floor and just like kind of scooped it up. And I mean, if you really think about dairy, right? Dairy, the FDA allows dairy to have up to 250,000 pus cells in 1 cc, one little cube, uh, uh, for, just as a standard. And if you ferment that down into cheese, just that's probably like 1.5 million pus cells in each bite that you have. It's just disgusting. Yeah, 100%. Dairy is worse for you than meat. 100%. 100%. I'm telling you, the month that I dropped dairy, I lost 50 pounds without doing anything else. I wasn't even exercising at that point. 50 pounds in 1 month from dropping dairy. So if you want to ask about losing weight, man, drop the dairy. That stuff is toxic for you. I mean, who walks up to a cow or a goat or whatever and like, oh, that's a nice tit, I'm going to start sucking on it? I mean, nobody does this. But somehow, I mean, I'm assuming it was a survival thing at some point. We saw, we're like, I think a Little House on the Prairie, like they're out there in a snowstorm like we got yesterday, and they're stranded, and there's a cow there or something like that, and they're like, well, this might keep us going. um, Dairy is very clogging. Yeah, well, it's basically inflammation. It's to build a cow's immune system up, so it actually gives the cow stuff to build an immune system up, which can actually have inflammation in it because the immune system has to learn how to defend itself. I hate dairy. Anything makes me fat and bloated like instantly. You're right. Oh, it's ridiculous. Drop it for a month, see what happens. Yeah, and then drop it for like a month, and you'll probably start smelling that stuff and never want to go back. That that stuff. Oh, is there tumor in dog food? Yeah, of course. Yeah, that stuff is bad news bears. I don't promote animals eating, but if I were gonna go back, I would never include dairy again, ever again, ever again. I I don't even know what I would add back in because I just when you work in this industry, especially like the distribution end of it, and you see what actually happens, like the petroleum dyes to make this stuff look not dead anymore, or just the toxic stuff that's put on this food, it's very hard to go back from that. It wasn't terribly hard for me to go vegan actually when I started thinking about back in my food days, back in the food distribution days. It wasn't really that hard because I started thinking like, man, all this stuff. And salmon, for example, I had 42 warts on my hand one time from because all the salmon I used to process. I had to have 42 warts burned off my hand. Is that something that you really want to be eating? Is there tumors in dog food? I already answered this. Yeah, if you're getting the cheap stuff, guaranteed. Guaranteed. I mean, because the industry does not care. They just want to make money. They just want to make money. My issues with low fat is feeling hungry constantly and always thinking about food. Well, you're just not eating enough. Once I increased my fat intake a bit, weight stayed the exact same, and I get satiated. Think the super low fat is overrated. I mean, watch Pritikin and all the studies that he had researched. I mean, the fat in your bloodstream is really bad news. Something like they they did this test with a bunch of people, and they tested that after people had oils and fats and stuff like that, they had 48 to 50 mini heart attacks in 2 hours because of the fat. I'm saying this because I tried Starch Solution and DURIANRIDER protocols, and I felt super hungry and had terrible digestion. Terrible digestion might happen in the beginning because of your microbiome, but you just likely were not eating enough. Why do you think vegans tend to have whiter eyes? Less inflammation, probably. I've worked dairy. Look up somatic cell count. Yeah. Are fats from the nuts the same as other fats? Yeah. I mean, it's stored the same. But your body literally doesn't have to do anything to any fat. It just plugs it into whatever wherever fat cell it needs. Jimmy Moore says he got big again from carbs, and in order to lose fat, you have to eat fat. Thoughts? That's like the dumbest thing ever. The reason you would lose any fat if you did on fat is because your body's so toxic that it has to neutralize it and it pulls all the water. Man, this is unreal. Jimmy Moore was probably butter. Yeah, see, this is the thing. You don't know how people are eating these carbs. That they'll put half a tub of sour cream on their potatoes and call it carbs. Or they'll eat, 30 muffins and they're like, man, that's a lot of carbs. But they just completely discount that there's just as much fat in it, and fat is more than 2 times more the calories. Do you worry about microscopic amounts of oil added to breads, condiments, etc.? I try not to, no. And especially after the FDA decided that they just don't really care what's on the label anymore. I mean, you just never know. Most breads, I don't think you can actually buy a fat-free bread, because when you're proofing a bread, it's very hard to not have it stick to whatever you're proofing it in. So I would imagine most of them use some oil. Can you elaborate on why dairy is so bad? I did. I mean, I spent like 10 minutes on that. I mean, it's got nothing but pus in it. It's inflammation. It's not built for humans. It's kind of like, you think about this, a calf will drink its milk from the mother until it's of normal weight, and then it goes and eats grass. It doesn't keep eating milk. No other mammal on this planet, well, I don't think any creature on this planet just like drinks, especially in other species, milk. Do you eat jam, and what do you put on it? What do I put on the jam? Just the jam. I mean, what do I put it on? Oh, what do you put it on? I thought you said on it. Um, Gosh, I haven't had jam in a while. The only time that I really was having jam was back when I had oatmeal, and I haven't had oatmeal in years. I don't know about years. I don't think I had any last year. I'm not I used to like oatmeal until I realized, like, some people are like, well, I'm always hungry when I eat something, and that was oatmeal for me. I was always hungry, so I just had to find something else. I just cannot eat a lot of oatmeal at all. If you guys could hit the like button so it actually sends this to more people, if you can. What convinced you that it? Huh? Do you think that adding sugar will with eventually drying cortisol back to normal? Yeah, yeah. It just takes a while, especially at night, man. My cortisol just doesn't care. It just goes up at night. It's ridiculous. I'm in this terrible cycle right now. It's so hard to find ramen noodles that have not been fried. Yeah, well, that's usually how they dry the noodles out, is they fry them. What do you recommend for snacking? Fruit, unless you've had cooked food already. If you've already had cooked food, what would I snack on? Probably just gummies, as long as they were vegan. I had a snack of corn tortilla rolled up around raspberry jam today as a snack, and it was yummy. Uh, sure. Does sugar raise testosterone? My acne and libido is twice as bad since going high. I don't understand that at all. I mean, I just don't understand that one at all. I am always horny, like always. Ask any most females that I talk to if I know them well. I'm like, it's ridiculous. As far as acne, I don't really think I have any. I don't know why that would happen. Maybe you're detoxing a bit. I mean, some people do, some people don't. Ichiban is like 50% fat. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why the acne thing, unless you're still having oil. See, a lot of people won't really read labels and stuff. Like, if you're still having oil, I know when I interviewed a couple of people now, actually, who had acne, as soon as they dropped oil, it just went away. David, mine too, but I'm female. Libido went away. It just, you just must not be having enough sugar. You just something's off. Something's off, because I literally doubled my testosterone in like 2 months, just adding a pound of sugar a day. I have bad night sweats when I add sugar into my diet for dinner or after. Hormones don't like insulin spike, I guess. I don't know. Regular sugar really doesn't raise the insulin all that much. It's actually lower in the glycemic index than like a potato. Only 7 likes and 39 watching. It says 23 for here. Is glucose the same as high cortisol? No. Glucose is just the sugar, the form of sugar in your body. High cortisol is a hormone that creates fight or flight. So you don't like if a bear is running at you. Yeah, it's meant to just be, or if like you're starving, you'll get high cortisol because your body's like, go find me food. But glucose is actually what tames the high cortisol. Can you explain food combining? Is rice with fruit good? Not if the fruit is raw. Never combine unless you have like the best digestion. Never combine raw food with cooked food ever. And even fruits within fruits. I would look up at the only thing that I like that Dr. Morse or whatever his name, Robert Morris did is he's got a food combining chart that's really good. Other than that, I think his stuff is trash. Yeah, everything. Also, sucrose, fructose, and glucose all convert to glucose. It's just, but that's what it is. What's the point of eating rice potatoes when fruits and processed sugars are enough for calories? Is it only for convenience money? If you can manage to find enough fruit and you really like living on fruit, then just do that. There is no, if you have the access to fruit that's really good tasting and sugar, there's literally no reason to even bother with starches. But I will say this, and it's probably because there's not much sugar in the starch. The more starch I added into my diet, the better my performance was in everything. It's probably because the fruit, like when I grow tomatoes or something like that, or when I've grown watermelon or cantaloupe in the past, it's the best, most sugary. Even the tomatoes. The tomatoes is like you can feel the sugar and the minerals and everything coming off of it because I used a compost from my dad that was like 10, like he'd been, creating it for like 10 years. It was, you should have seen the bumper crop that I had. It was nuts. We couldn't even get to all of them. So, but those things, it was like eating sugar. It's just straight sugar. And I mean, the watermelon, people are like, well, you can't eat watermelon without, a knife or something like that. But a ripe watermelon, if you touch it on the side, right where the stem is, it pops right open. And the sugar coming off that was insane. But if you can find that level, then starch is pointless. Tell us some more horror stories in the meat processing industry. Uh, I think the worst thing is soft shell crab, eel, lobster are all living, and most of the time you just throw them into water or something like that to kill them. It's just, even I had a hard time with that even when I ate that stuff. It just, it drives me nuts. Some of the way these things are killed too. It's, ugh. And I know somebody who worked at a meat processing plant, and they killed like 30,000 pigs in one day. I was like, wow, that is nuts. But can you imagine all that adrenaline and all that horror that those things are going through, and you're eating that? I was not consuming sugar. I was just starting adding it today. I need something that is cure type 1 diabetes. I thought that was only for type 2, so I'm trying it out. No, it's not. For when's your interview with Natasha? It was supposed to be yesterday. It snowed really bad, and I wanted a DoorDash, and the time changed and everything, so it's going to be tomorrow. You should try interviewing Life Regener. I have tried. I've tried to interview Life Regenerator like 5 times now. He won't do it. I think he only does interviews with raw vegans. It's depressing because I really like the guy, but not my thing. Oh my God, I couldn't do that. I don't care how much. Yeah, it is rough. It is rough, especially because, you basically when you soft shell crab, I mean, I could do it in my sleep. You cut their face off, and then you flip open their breathing, their lungs, and then they trim out their lungs, and that's it, and they're live, and then you squish out all their innards. But yeah, it's horrible. I still have nightmares of some of that stuff. It's really that industry is messed up, and most people can't do it. Matter of fact, most people who work in tanneries and most people who work in that industry, not the one I worked in, but most, like when you're really killing the animals and killing all that kind of stuff, Most of them are actually ex-convicts who are on parole and they're forced into these jobs. How do you meat processing plant workers sleep at night? They don't. It's the highest turnover of any industry in on the planet. I believe we take on the energy of the animal through eating their flesh. Yeah, and they're dead, so there's zero energy there. What is your opinion on store-bought coconut water? The sodium is kind of high. Is that okay? So coconuts actually back in World War II in the Pacific, they were running out of blood, and they actually use coconut water in place of the blood because it's the exact same makeup as your plasma. So I don't really think it's a big deal. The point of eating other foods is for cost convenience, but you also the vitamins, minerals, more protein. Protein. Come on, man. I worked in a slaughterhouse. It was awful. It's awful. It's terrible. It's terrible. I know people who've done it. You know, it changes you. It changes you. I agree with you. What? Oh, that just sounds terrible. Yeah, it's terrible all the way around. There's no getting around it, you know. But people want their meat and dairy, and that's how you get it, you know. When I'm out for rides in the country, I mean, you can hear when they're on days that they're taking the calves away from their mothers, the cries, man. I don't know how people live with themselves. And these are family farms. These are not even like big farms, but you can hear it. It's crazy. I don't know how people manage to go through this stuff themselves. But they do it, and it's how they make the living, and they defend it too. And you know, like I don't know. Some of these processing plants too. I mean, they just literally hook these things up, these animals to these conveyors, and they just high speed through a knife and just cut their heads off. Is it unhealthy to eat 1,000 calories from store bought juice every day? I would watch. There's a lot of weird stuff being found in the juices, but no. If you can find a legit source, I think people are just so detached from what they're even putting in their face. Well, this is a problem. This is the world of go work yourself to death, go home, sit in front of a TV, watch it all day, go to bed, no love life, no nothing. Get up and do it over again, and you do this day after day after day. And then what you are watching is these three-letter agencies, and you're watching it, and it's programming you. You know, it's called programming, literally called programming. And this is where we're at. Thank you for going live again. You're so generous with your time and knowledge. Get your pattern set up for coaching. Yeah, it's Sandy's going to be here on Tuesday. I'm going to be able to back off some of my workload and finally actually get some of this stuff done. So when you go to Chick-fil-A to get a chicken sandwich, it's actually a tumor sandwich. I doubt it with Chick-fil-A, but with McDonald's and Wendy's and all those other places, I wouldn't doubt it at all. I mean, they say there's something like 1,000 pieces of cow in each patty, like different cows, 1,000 different cows. I mean, it's just, but you can't get around it. They use a lot of the cow byproduct, the fluids and everything, and they mix it in with the asphalt or tarmac or whatever you want to call it. So you're driving on this stuff. It's in the medical supplies. You can't really get around it. Why do people always ask if you ate KFC recently? I don't know. That's a Durian Rider thing. KFC, I haven't actually probably eaten there since the 90s. Cows cry for about 2 weeks when separated from the young. On a calm fall night, you can hear it for miles. Yeah, 100%. When you're out riding, especially if you go into the country, you're going to hear it. And it's terrible. Durian Rider and his obsession with KFC. I mean, they do have they call it with chips in other countries. Like they got really good fries, but I could just make it in an air fryer. It's not, of course, it's not as good. Everybody loves fat and potatoes, but who knows? Could even be humans in the meat. So, I was watching. I used to really be into paranormal stuff, and I was watching the Ghost Adventures. I don't know if this episode still aired because I couldn't believe this guy actually said this like out loud. And he was at the L.A. Morgatory, and all the Jane and John Does were there, and they're like, if nobody comes pick these people up, We just sell them to the cow farmers, and they grind them up and feed them to the cows. So technically, I guess you could in China. That's another thing. There was a Chinese place. It reminds me, a Chinese place where I grew up, and they always had the cheapest food. Nobody could ever figure it out. And then somebody found out that they were paying their employees to go adopt animals at the adoption agencies, and they were just killing them and turning them into food. Is it possible to steam potatoes in a rice cooker? That sounds blasphemous to me. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know how you would. No, because if it's a trash rice cooker, maybe. But if it's a good one, they're just so sensitive. I don't see how you could. If it's just like one of those, is it called Oster or something? That you might be able to. I don't know. I've never had something like that. I guess go to the dollar store or like the thrift store and see if you find one. I cook taters in my Instapot. Yeah, well, I've actually got potatoes cooking in my Instapot right now too for whenever this is done. I'm gonna make a potato soup because it's a whopping 25 degrees out there, which is like 1 or 2 Celsius or -1 or 2 Celsius, something like that. How do you have such good skin for your age? Now I'm being called old. Hurts. I don't know. You can't. You can't have skin at my age. Is it? I don't know. I don't know what we're all answering here. I'm assuming this is answering the can you cook taters in the rice? Yes, when the water boils off till turn off, you have to balance the water with your cook time. Well, there's your answer. I wouldn't do it, but I've got a rice cooker and a Instapot and a stove, so I don't see the point. Can you steam potatoes above the rice? But when this just sounds crazy now. What are you giving the rice a facial? I tried to cook potatoes in my Japanese rice cooker and it messed it up. 100, yeah. This is what I have. I'm not messing my rice cooker up for that. I mean, if you got a stove, just boil them. Do you try avoiding corn syrup? It doesn't taste as good as cane. Uh, yeah, I don't avoid it, but I don't really have it often at all, hardly. I think it used to taste better than it does nowadays too. I'm not a huge fan of it. You should interview Orville Douglas, longtime fruitarian. A lot of the fruitarians, I can write the name down. A lot of the fruitarians won't work with any or interview with anybody who's not like straight up. I mean, you can't put potatoes in the rice cooker. I wouldn't think so. What are your favorite potatoes? Edible? I don't know. Probably yellow. Like Yukon, if you can find Yukon anymore, they're really hard to find. But yellow potatoes are really good. But whenever I find Yukon potatoes, I'm always excited about that. There is a different taste. I've got potatoes today that are kind of Yukon like. Yellow potatoes, like the skin is yellow, but then the inside is white sometimes. But like with Yukon, like it's a deep yellow interior. That's my favorite. What are the effects of corn syrup versus cane on the blood sugar levels? All right, so corn syrup has a lot more effect on your blood sugar levels than cane because sometimes there's cornstarch in there. I know technically, like Georgia was saying, it can take labels like say it's like 40 calorie or 40 grams of sugar, but technically it's like 250 grams of sugar. Does sugar cure homosexual thoughts? Oh boy, I can't really answer that one. I like yellow and Yukon. Man, there used to be they used to actually cure that with medication back in the day. I don't want to have a bunch of ragers on here though. I'm gonna put spuds in my rice cooker tomorrow. I'll let you know. Well, if you destroy your rice cooker, don't blame me. It had nothing to do with my advice. I mean, the best way to cook potatoes, if you just want to boil them, is just literally put them in water above the potato line. Put a little bit of salt in there if you like salt, and boil it until they're done. It's like the best way to do it. or steam them if you got a steamer. Steamers comes out really good too. I'm just making soup today because it's like freezing outside. Did you have any detox symptoms coming in the heart? Oh yeah, my detox symptoms were terrible. Were absolutely terrible. It was nuts. I think I've talked about it in some of my videos. I would go watch those, but yeah, I had a lot of symptoms. Can you slice sweet potatoes pieces and place directly on top of the rice in the rice cooker? Works great. Oh, you can. Cool. Yeah. If you actually like sweet potatoes, then try that out. Yeah. I usually buy sweet potatoes and end up just throwing them out because I can't stand them and I don't know why I would buy them. I always steam sweet potatoes. I'm assuming you mean sweet potatoes or potatoes just in menace like the potato conversation. Maybe it's because I'm Irish. I like Irish. I'm gonna call them Irish potatoes. I like Irish potatoes. I don't like sweet potatoes much at all. The only time that I liked sweet potatoes is in Seattle. There's these Yakimo trucks. They just sell stone cooked sweet potatoes in a little bag. That's some good stuff. But other than that, um, not a fan. Not a fan at all. Speaking of which, it's St. Patrick's Day on Friday, so I probably do a live. But I'm gonna be making a shepherd's pie. If I'll probably take pictures and throw it on my Instagram. That's linked down below. Does rice ever constipate you? I find it hard to go potty sometimes if I eat it daily. Yes. The way I got around that is if you add greens into your diet or if you go for a decent walk. It's like a miracle cure. I actually add greens to my smoothies, like leafy greens. I like the effect of it. It really helps your digestion. I need to talk about poop. An issue I have with very low fat eating is that it makes me constipation. Whereas who are these people who start eating whole plant-based, no oil, who get uh honestly, if I add greens and I don't have that issue at all, or if I just go for a decent walk. Baked yam fries are okay, but not better than they're all right. I mean, they're soggy no matter what you do. Have you heard about the channel 10 Cokes a Day? It's about a guy who made daily videos of drinking 10 Cokes a day for a month. And I went from 168 to 190 pounds in that time in 2014. I mean, but if you're not going to change anything else, it's just, it's not going to do anything good. How much, and on top of the fact that Coke in and of itself is actually very acidic. So if you're going to do that, if you would have, all right, that reminds me of an experiment. I don't know if you watch McDougall a lot, but McDougall talks about this experiment that was done back in the 70s or 80s with college kids who, the freshman 15. And they took three groups. One group didn't have any bread. One group had to eat 12 slices of white bread a day. And the other group had to eat 12 slices of whole grain bread a day. And the group that ate the nothing gained a freshman 15. The white bread group lost 19 pounds, and the whole grain lost 23 pounds. So if you do it right, it'll work right. But if you're going to eat something very acidic like Coke, that's going to cause issues. How much sugar water do you drink a day on average? Depends on the day. It really depends on the day. Maybe one like half cup of sugar in water. I started resistance training recently. My trainer suggested creatine. What is your opinion on creatine powder? Creatine powder is really good, especially us vegans. We don't get a ton of it, and it helps the Krebs cycle, the ATP. The only problem is it's a sodium byproduct, and it will bloat you up if you're taking too much of it. We used to creatine load back in the day. I don't know if that's still a thing. Creatine monohydrate is sodamine or something like that. The original form is it's the best form. Don't bother with all the knockoffs. No problem for me if I eat potatoes. It's near emergency every morning. Yeah, potatoes. If you're having bathroom issues, potatoes, man, they will clear you out. Rice does have some kind of effect on you. That's why I add in the greens. I agree with Ryan. What else is what was the guy eating junk? Yeah, I mean it's It's kind of like the guy. This video has millions of views too, but he went on potatoes only. The dude ate like 2 or 3 potatoes a day, and then he's talking about how bad that is for you. You know, it's ridiculous. Is synthetic vitamin C garbage? I'm actually not into overloading on vitamins all that much. I think sugar's better for you. I don't know. I guess it depends. I'm not really into synthetics all that much. I mean, even testosterone and stuff is made out of wild yam root. I mean, it's not synthetic. What would you do for parasites and mucus in the gut? First of all, oxygen kills that stuff off. Second of all, if I really wanted to get rid of that stuff, and you're going to be in a world of pain if you do it, is really hot, like habanero juice or uh, jalapeno juice with like a lemon ginger blast, basically. But you put like habaneros in there or something, you'll be on the floor. But it'll kill that stuff off. It's called die off. I've tried to give up Coke, but I can't handle the headaches. Yeah, it's withdrawal, the caffeine. It sucks. My dad goes through the same thing. Do you recommend juicing greens or some greens in smoothies? I would rather do greens in smoothies, but if you really wanted to clear out, like I do have a lot of people ask me about parasites. Juicing greens, that stuff, it's going to clear you out, but it can actually really. It's called die-off. Like it'll go in the gut, it'll kill this stuff off. It's dead in your stomach and your intestines and everything. It can really be painful. Matter of fact, I juiced 4 habaneros one time. I was like green. I was on the floor. My manager at the time actually sent me home. It took me 2 months to get fully off Coca-Cola. Yeah, well, you know, it used to have cocaine in it. What if it still does? Laugh a lot. I'm drinking lemon ginger blast. Yeah, if you do the lemon ginger blast recipe, which you know, there's like 40 different versions of it, and you put in some kind of hot peppers and keep the seeds in, that'll definitely kill a lot of parasites. But you really can. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. I used to have habanero before and had wicked diarrhea. Never again, and it hurts on the way out too. It'll hurt on the way out sometimes. You'll know that you ate it. It's a lot of fire. A lot of fire. But yeah, that's one of the best ways. But you know, just getting oxygen into the system really helps quite a bit. So exercising can really do that. But dairy again, like anything like dairy, which is very oxygen depleted, that allows it to grow. And anything, you know, anaerobic is going to allow it to grow. That's why exercise, cardiovascular can actually, I mean, think about it. You know, I know they do a lot of drugs and drinking and everything like that, but all these singers, they're constantly breathing in, breathing in, breathing in because they got to sing and everything. And they're always skinny. They're always the oxygen kills all this stuff off. And it's probably why a lot of these dudes list like 100 years old, because that oxygen intake really helps you out. Is a little hot not bad? I don't have a problem hooping. Man, potatoes and shit in this conversation. Are you concerned about oxalates in fruit and vegetables? No. You know, the more concerned you get with this stuff, the more you're going to stress yourself out, and the more nothing's going to happen. If you're constantly, you know, it's kind of like if you're constantly thinking about how fat you were. I think one of the problems that I ran into last year, as far as not losing as much weight as I wanted to, is I'm constantly thinking about fat. And if you're constantly thinking about fat, you're going to get fat, you know? So if you're constantly thinking about this stuff, you're constantly be getting, you know, that in return. So I would just, you know, one of the best things that you can do for yourself as far as the parasites too is like beet and carrot juice with honey, blackstrap molasses. That stuff will really help you out too. I don't know. The only reason I own a scale is because I occasionally sell stuff on eBay, and I need something to weigh it with. The only reason I have it. But yeah, if you're really looking to lose weight, don't even step on the scale. You just get paranoid for no reason. It's going to come off when it's going to come off. What is your favorite green for smoothies? I really like the butter lettuce, but it costs more. I just go up to Aldi right up the road and get whatever their mixed greens is. Just when you're getting mixed greens, make sure you flip the thing over, and if there's any moisture whatsoever on the bottom, even a little droplet of water, don't buy it. It's crap. Make sure it's dry. If you guys could hit that good old like button, if possible, if you can manage. I heard McDougall the other day citing studies of the starch diet that showed average weight loss of 20-some pounds per year. I thought this was surprisingly low. Doug Lyle said that you average a quarter ounce or something like that a day, which averages out to about 25 pounds a year. So that's not terribly unsurprising. I agree, Ryan. When I've obsessed about gaining weight, I gain weight despite not eating. When I relax and let go, but take care of myself, I lose weight. Think about the most relaxed, carefree person in your life. Chances are really good that they're skinny. Or I mean, you do get there with like the really overweight people that they just really want to be overweight. They got a bunch of clothes. They don't want to have to change anything. They might be super happy or fake super happy. But most of the time, when I think back to my like childhood, the happiest people in my life, like my great grandma lived to 96. That woman lived on those Smarties, those little sugar candies. She just didn't. She couldn't care less what she ate. He ate a standard American diet of eggs, bacon, cereal, dairy, meat, pinks. He added 10 Cokes. No, of course you're going to gain weight. What products do you use for bathing? I only been using DR Bronner's oil. What do I use? Oh, Dr. Squatch. I like the way it smells. I don't just whatever you do, don't buy anything with titanium. What the hell is it called? Titanium dioxide, I think. If it says titanium anything or aluminum anything, that stuff is poison. Stay away from it. If you, especially, I mean, I know, you know, this is weight loss, but if you really want to detox, I mean, stay away from that stuff. That stuff is terrible for you. I mean, you're going to get it from just breathing this air, unfortunately. But what about sunscreen mineral only? Gosh, I haven't used sunscreen. It's weird. Before back in the 70s and 80s, nobody got sunburn. And now all of a sudden, with all this stuff in there, we get sunburns. It's kind of weird. I don't really use anything, honestly. Do you think? I mean, you know, people comment on my skin. I don't use it. I'm Irish too. Like we love getting that cancer, but I don't use anything. Do you think about? You know, I think actually coconut oil isn't that supposed to be really good for it? I don't know, or maybe it magnifies it. I don't know. I get really dark though. Like I don't really burn. Do you think adding vanilla soy milk to smoothies is bad for your weight loss? I wouldn't do it. Maybe make your own. Nah, I wouldn't do it. If I was gonna add any milk, if I had to add a milk, I would add oat milk. Because you usually get it with like 1 gram per eight ounces. They like to add what is it, grapeseed oil or something like that to a lot of them though. So I would definitely read the label. How have they tricked people into thinking all this meat and grease is super good for you? You teach people about how bad, or like who like their bad habits, and you teach people that it's good. And here's a pill. Oh, and well, it didn't work. Oh, we'll try this pill. Oh, it didn't work. Well, you know, you've got autoimmune. That's usually how it goes. You got autoimmune disorders. You're screwed. But keep coming back and taking your pills. Uh, yeah, get them when you're like, yeah. I hated going to the doctor. My mom hated going to the doctor. My dad hated going to the doctor. I don't even think my sister knows what a doctor is. You know, we didn't go. I'm not going to these people. The only time I ever went was for like when my testosterone was going down. I didn't put two and two together. It was keto diet. How come you don't like sweet potatoes? They're gross. They taste gross. It's not like it. No, they're just. I don't know actually too many people who really like sweet potatoes. People claim that they like sweet potatoes on this diet, you know, just because it's popular or whatever. But yeah, no, forget it. But if you like them, you know, this is the thing. This is my journey, right? If you like sweet potatoes, it's more for you. I'm Irish. I'm not Asian. I think Asian people like sweet potatoes. Did you have caffeine while on keto? Of course. Seems a lot of keto and carnivore YouTubers get through the day via coffee. Fake sugar like stevia or Diet Coke. Of course, yeah, you're not gonna get through keto without caffeine. I hated coffee. I've always hated coffee. So what I would do was caffeine, ephedra, and aspirin, and then they took ephedra away because it was more effective than the diet pills that the FDA was selling. So they took it off the market. They blamed some bullshit. Some pitcher took it, but this pitcher, it was like little league. This pitcher hadn't had any food in like 24 hours. He hadn't drank any water, and then he had ephedra because he was tired, and he died. And they were gunning for it, and they found a way to get rid of it. I love yams and sweet taters. Perfect. I don't eat it. You have more for you. So I try no. All right. This is the thing. This is what I go through with papaya. I hate papaya. And everybody's like, well, you got to do this. You got to do this. I don't like it. I don't have to like it. Um, and that works. Opinion on niacin flushing. I heard it's bad for the liver, but feels really good. Well, there is there's flush free niacin. So I'm not a big fan. I used to, the people the companies that use this the most is the pre-workout. Because you're like, oh, I'm burning. I've got this niacin flush going on. It must be effective. It must work. I used to hate sweet potatoes, and I all of a sudden started liking them. Awesome. I have more of mine. I know you hate coffee, but what do you think about caffeine itself? Well, caffeine in and of itself is a neurotoxin. Basically, your body has to rev up its engines to get rid of it out of the system. That's why it gives you energy. I'm the opposite. I used to love them, got sick of them, prefer yellow potatoes, 100%. I'm a long-term vegan who eats carbs, but also stays alive with coffee, tea, and tequila. That is why you had so much trouble earlier this year. Me too. I don't know what it's to. Oh, this is a thing. It's kind of like people ask me how they trick themselves into eating animals, and I feel like coffee is that. People, trick themselves into thinking it's human food. I don't like papaya. I think they're gross. I was eating it to try to get parasites. Man, you and the parasites. You're not always going to see parasites. Parasites can be smaller than, the eye can see. Life's just too short to eat papaya. Exactly. I even had somebody send me some from Mexico, and I let them on my shelf until they got moldy on the outside, like you're supposed to do. And no, it just was not good. I've had good and bad papaya. I had one good-ish papaya in a smoothie, but not I mean, out of all the ones I've eaten, I mean, that's just a waste of money. But Georgia was saying niacin helping with the blood sugar of fat. Yeah, but there is flush-free niacin. I don't know how good the niacin is. You would have to really go on that hydutes.me and read what they were using because there is different versions of niacin. 1,000 yard keto caffeine stare. Yeah, I mean, when you're on keto, you got that stare, like that comparison video I did or whatever. What was a comparison or reaction video that I did? I mean, they all got that, like they're all around like, oh, I had my caffeine today. I mean, they're crazy people, and I was crazy, still a little off. Had you give up alcohol because it kept bringing me down and would binge on the worst types of food? It's misery. Yeah, the alcohol in and of itself is not going to make you fat, but it makes you binge most people. Your body actually burns the alcohol off first before other carbs. So it can actually make you I'm not going to say that. It's not going to make you fat, but what happens is the liver can't handle it, so it starts getting fatter, and it causes fat. It's a train wreck. I rarely drink, but I enjoy a cup of coffee. Cool. I don't know what to say about it. Yeah, you know what it is. I grew up. I'm Irish, like a lot of people know. We repopulate like rabbits, and we die off like rabbits, and I went to a lot of funerals when I was younger, and not as many these days because most people kick the bucket. But I was always having coffee at my house, so flowers and coffee remind me of funerals. So I don't buy flowers for anybody, and I don't like coffee. That might be where it comes from. I don't know. Uh, when I did keto paleo, my binges were crazy. Chocolate and peanut butter was the advice. Yeah, yeah. If you're gonna do keto or carnivore or paleo, whatever, you're gonna binge. You recommend the sun chlorella tabs. Did you see benefits to them? Yeah. Of all the things that I've taken, sun chlorella, only sun chlorella. The rest of them don't really digest, but the sun chlorella ones, but you got to take a lot. I was taking like 45 a day, which which adds up quite a bit. I felt like I was working on my job just to afford the chlorella tabs. Yeah. So yeah, yeah. That's something I would rate pretty well. Yeah, 100%. All right. It's getting to that hour mark. I might head out. What is your max daily sodium intake? I don't count it. I don't count it. Because you're just never gonna know how much you need, what's in everything. I can't, each potato is gonna have a different amount. Each salt, everything's gonna have a different amount. What's my favorite mustard? My favorite mustard is dill mustard. Stuff's amazing. What is the best thing about being alive, not being dead? I like sex. Sex probably, from what I can remember. Do you add sea salt to food? No. I don't add any salt. The salt in it, the only time I add salt is I'll add salt to the water if I'm boiling potatoes sometimes. Shit, I'm still clocked in. Damn. I can't believe I did that. Hold on. Wow. Um, yeah, sometimes I'll add it to when I'm boiling potatoes. What are you doing for dinner tonight? Just potato soup. Thank you for answering all my questions. Not a problem. Potatoes, laugh out loud. Yeah, Irish. What can I say? Stereotype, I guess. Yeah, I just, it is what it is. Rice. No, I don't think I'm having rice tonight. I'm gonna be hungry though because I really smashed it on the bike today. I didn't want to ride outside. There was a sheet of ice everywhere. What is your goal, ideal weight target? In the 200s somewhere. I don't think I would look right under the 200s. Why you don't cheat meal once on high maybe hormonal shift? Um, I do once in a while, not just if I go over my parents, but I got to tell you, the hormones definitely tank pretty bad. I love potatoes. Here's an interesting thing: potatoes actually raise your hemoglobin. So if you're doing a lot of cycling, potatoes will actually help you out with that um, quite a bit. Quite a bit. They have almost like an EPO effect. All right, I think I'm gonna call it because I got to eat, and it's wow 8:30. So anyway, thanks for joining. I don't think there's any more pressing questions here. And that's it. I'll be interviewing Natasha tomorrow. I don't know when that video is going to be up. Maybe Thursday. All right. Peace.